just made the list.
The doctor will see you now.
I'm better than you, and you know it.
Welcome to Around the Ring. This is episode number 3 of season 4. I am your host, Steve, and with me, of course, is Justin. How's it going, Justin?
Pretty good. Just got out of work about 2 hours ago. Pretty tired, but happy to talk wrestling.
Heck yeah. Yeah, one of these days I'm actually going to go back and figure out how many episodes total there are. It shouldn't be that difficult, but yeah, I'm just interested in knowing how many episodes I actually did. Because I remember I was a guest on the show when they did their 200th episode.
Oh, wow.
So I know it's been at least 200. But the numbering kind of gets out of whack when what we're calling season 3 began, because that's when like the format completely changed, and it was kind of part of the Wrestle Joy family. Yeah. So I don't think it'll be too hard to figure out the actual episodic number. But so we do have some wrestling to talk about, and we're actually introducing a long gone or missing segment to Around the Ring, which Dave and Floyd kept going for a while, and that was the top 5 lists. Tonight we will be doing top 5 active male wrestlers. So wrestlers that are currently wrestling, and specific to male. Next week we're going to do female, so it should be a lot of fun, and hope you enjoy it. And we got a few pieces of news to talk about. You want to start things off there, Justin?
Yeah, it's an interesting week because I feel like some of the bigger stories got mentioned, and we'll probably talk about them in our top 5 section. But I guess the news items we do have are kind of looking to the future. One of the big ones is Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard's new version of NXT starts this coming week.
Not really sure how I feel about that.
I am not excited for
optimistic
what's coming. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say. Their idea is to be in charge of the bigger picture things than necessarily the booking, but I don't know. I have my doubts, especially with their new decision on the type of wrestler they want to sign going forward.
Yeah. Like right before we started recording, I had mentioned that I just borrowed a book from the library called NXT: The Future Is Now, written by John Robinson. And it's essentially the history of NXT from, its inception, the idea that Triple H had, and then kind of just where it got to the point of, like, this book was published in 2017, so it'll take us through that. And I don't know, probably 3/4 of the way done, maybe. I don't know, maybe 70%. I don't know my percentages. But yeah, so it's a good book. But yeah, NXT was definitely a great change from, we'll just call it regular WWE for the longest time. And it was like the only WWE that I watched. Mm-hmm. And I think there's still a lot of people out there that feel the same way or did. So I don't watch it now I don't watch it anymore because I honestly don't really watch any WWE. And I'm not, somebody else out there is watching it and they enjoy it. That's great. I'm a big proponent of watching what you enjoy. I just didn't have any fun watching it anymore, so I just figured, what's the point? But back in the day, it was amazing.
Oh, it was brilliant. Like there was a good solid stretch there where like, well, it's because of what it was. The point of that NXT was to sign these independent wrestlers, these wrestlers from other countries that were more known for their work rate, and to then like translate that into a more mainstream WWE style, which I'd argue they weren't super successful with because all the indie darlings remained everyone's favorite wrestlers, and they still kind of worked at a super high work rate level. Yeah. Those takeovers, those old like those 5-match takeovers were perfect for like 2-3 years in a row. Like there were so many amazing wrestlers on there with amazing matches, great storytelling.
There's even some folks on NXT that have been around for quite a few years that still have never gotten called up.
Yeah.
And that's probably a good thing. One I might mention is Johnny Gargano. I don't think he's ever gotten called up.
No, he nor Tommaso Ciampa. They're both. I think they wanted to stay in NXT. I think they knew what would happen with them if they went to the main roster, so they never really pushed to go. And
then Adam Cole never went to the main roster. He just let his contract expire while he was doing NXT.
That to me is the funniest. Like the way that went down, how they were like, let his contract expire. No one knew it. He signed an extension and was immediately free to show up in AEW. It's basically like, oh, they did all this work just setting him up for a perfect segue into another company.
And then there are folks on the roster that were called up and then went back.
There were a handful.
That I know off the top of my head are Finn Balor and Ember Moon.
Yeah. Though Finn has since gone back to the main roster.
Oh, did he? Okay, that's a shame.
He's back. Yeah, he's back. He's on SmackDown now, and it looks like he's teasing the return of the Demon, and we're gonna see Demon versus Roman Reigns. I think is the idea. Roman is doing some good work, and he's probably like the best thing about main roster WWE at this point.
That's not really saying much. That's a pretty low bar.
The presentation has been my main issue with the WWE mainly, but it's sort of an end of an era for NXT. I hope that it winds up being much better than we expect because there still are a lot of great people there.
Yeah.
So you hope that they get to maintain, their contracts, or maybe they'll be cut loose and they can go wherever they want.
We'll see. What else we got? You'd mentioned G1 is about to start.
Yeah, the New Japan Pro Wrestling G1 begins September 18th and runs through October 21st. Have you ever watched the G1?
Bits and pieces, but I will ask very briefly for somebody who might be listening that doesn't know anything about New Japan, explain what the G1 is. You might be able to explain it better than me.
Yeah. So the G1 is a round-robin style tournament. So there are two groups of wrestlers. There's a Block A and a Block B. I'm not sure on the exact number of wrestlers in the blocks. I guess I could pull that article up and get the count while I'm explaining the basic rules.
Is it like a bracket system or?
So that's it's not a bracket system. So basically a round robin system is every wrestler in that block will wrestle every other wrestler in that block.
Gotcha.
And it's a point based system. So you get 2 points if you win the match, you get 1 point each if it's a draw. So basically what you'll have is, let me see if I can have like the exact number of wrestlers in this block currently. So there's 2 blocks. We have 10 wrestlers in each block. So a good example is the very first show we have Shingo Takagi will be facing Tomohiro Ishii. And then the next time Shingo wrestles in the block, he will face Zack Sabre Jr. So basically, every wrestler will fight each other in their block. And the winner of each block will then go on to the finals and face each other to determine the winner. The winner usually, the winner gets a contract to decide their opponent at Wrestle Kingdom, I believe is the rule. I don't think it's strictly like you get a world, IWGP World Heavyweight Championship shot. I think it's you can challenge who you like, and anyone can win it. Sometimes the world champion's in there. Shingo's in there this year, so he's the world champion. If he wins, he gets to choose his own opponent for the championship at Wrestle Kingdom. So it's a really intense form of wrestling. It's very demanding on the wrestlers physically. It's demanding on the viewers' attention and time, because it goes, the 18th to the 21st is basically a month. So there will be some days off between, but it is very much like a marathon where you'll have 3 or 4 days of shows in a row, and then like a day off or 2 days off, and then 2 more shows, and then 1 day off, and then 3 more shows. And they're all long shows too, because they also do preliminary tag team matches at the start of the show. I've been watching it a couple years now. I have watched, I think, beginning in 2017, maybe even earlier. I'm not entirely sure. That's when I started watching them. And the last couple years, I've watched every single match in all the
that's
all the brackets.
Yeah, that's
it's hard to do
right there, man.
It is hard.
I'm trying to watch all of Wrestle Kingdom.
And what I'd like to do is actually keep track of the points myself. Like, you can find the points online, and they'll tell you how many points. If you're watching the English commentary, they'll tell you how many points there are. Yeah. But I love it. It's my favorite thing that New Japan does next to Wrestle Kingdom. One's 1A, one's 1B. So it's a very time-consuming thing that I will be trying this year. This year my schedule's a little bit more complex. But I'm going to try and at least watch all the bracket matches, or all the block matches.
I'll try to catch a few.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to watch everything. You can definitely find highlights too, and just watch the ones that look interesting too. So,
I know we already did our news bit on NXT, but I have some breaking news. Apparently, this just hit. Let's say it just hit my news feed, but Samoa Joe had to relinquish the NXT title due to injury.
Huh. That's surprising.
Yeah, it's like he just came back like last month. Didn't he?
Yeah. He just came back. He just won the NXT championship from Karrion Kross.
Yeah. And so I guess he got injured and now he has to give it up.
Well,
so they're gonna have are they gonna have another some kind of tournament to determine who the new champion will be, or are they just gonna give it back to Karrion Kross?
What are the chances this is a work?
Ooh,
because the rebranding starts this week.
That is right. Yeah.
So it's the statement says the WWE Medical has informed me that due to certain injuries, they'd like me to step away from the ring for a brief but indeterminate amount of time.
Yeah.
Does that mean the previous injuries that he has had? Because he had a hard time getting cleared in the first place. Huh. This is curious. I would hate for this to be a work, because I don't really like injury angles as works unless they're like happening on TV. Usually you can tell when it's...
Yeah.
I don't know. This is interesting. Odd timing for sure.
Very, very odd timing. Let's see. I think the last piece of news we have is in regards to Adam Scherr who in WWE was Braun Strowman, of course. And his he became a free agent just a couple of weeks ago, like not very long ago at all. And I mean, his first match outside of WWE is going to be the EC3.
Mm-hmm.
But there is reports coming from Wrestling Observer that he is going to be possibly moving over to Impact.
Yeah, I'd seen those rumors early on, but Impact likes to tease that kind of thing a lot.
Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised he would choose to go to Impact. He's an interesting person. I don't know how much him getting into wrestling, like, I don't think he was an independent wrestler before he signed with the WWE.
I don't think it was either.
I think he was one of those talent scouts, athletes, because I think he did some powerlifting, bodybuilding, or something along those lines. Yeah. Yeah. So, like, he didn't really have a history of wrestling prior, and he made some really disparaging comments about indie wrestlers at the beginning of the pandemic when the WWE released a lot of wrestlers. And, like, he criticized, the people complaining about being released. And then, ironically, he wound up getting released himself.
Yeah.
I could have sworn that his deal was he was dropped because of his contract his guarantee was too much, and they would re-sign him at a lower rate. But there was even possibility that, like, I heard some discussion of him trying to go to Hollywood, try to do something acting wise.
Yeah.
Which he could do. It's just strange to me that he's going to another wrestling company. And I could see why AEW would not be interested in him, especially after his remarks about wrestlers who got dropped.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
I don't see him going to AEW. He just doesn't seem like, I don't know. He just doesn't seem like the type that would fit in.
No, I could see him do okay in Impact. Weirdly, I could see him doing better in Ring of Honor. I don't know what it is about that company that makes me more interested in seeing him there.
Yeah. I mean, God knows they could use some more talent.
They have a lot of big guys in Ring of Honor, like, not necessarily like the tallest guys, but they are, like, heavier guys. So I could see him having a lot of good opponents. But he's also, you could treat him as an attraction match too, though. He doesn't necessarily have to have, like, a great work rate. It's just like, look at this giant. Throw around this little guy. So
for sure.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So I guess we'll see. Guess we'll find out. So I guess that brings us to highlights from the week. So we do have a few highlights to discuss. First one on our list looks like we've got some highlights from AEW Dark.
Yeah.
Which was on the 7th. Is that right? Yeah. So yeah, there were a couple really good matches on there. You want to go ahead and talk about those, or
so I didn't watch Dark, so I'll let you kind of lead the way on this one.
Oh, okay. I thought you had written these down. All right.
No, not the Dark ones. I think.
Okay. Well, the first one was maybe I did write these down. I just don't remember writing them down. Well, these are the two matches that stood out to me. First one was Lee Moriarty and Joey Janela. Now, of course, I know who Joey Janela is, obviously. But Lee Moriarty was pretty much a name that I had not heard of prior to watching this match. He came from Major League Wrestling.
Okay.
I'm willing to bet that he is still with them. But he did recently accept a contract with AEW. And he was one of those. He's one of those guys that moves around a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So paired up against Joey, it was a pretty entertaining match. I don't have my notes from that, so I don't remember what about the show actually stood out to me. Or what about that match stood out to me. But it was a good match. It was. I'm trying to remember how many matches were in Dark. There were quite a few of them. That one was just one of them that stood out to me. The other one was the match between Diamante and Big Swole.
I heard this match was really good. This was a 3 strikes match.
That is correct. Yeah.
What is that?
Let me Google that, because it didn't make a whole lot of sense to me either. 3 strikes match. Maybe it's okay. Well, it just keeps pulling up the Swole and Diamante thing.
I have seen Big Swole live. I saw her at, I believe it was Fest Wrestling in Gainesville during the Fest.
Yeah.
I think that's where I saw her at. And she was really good then. It was before the AEW stuff. She has a really cool look. Her matches in AEW were really good, especially during the beginning of the pandemic. So she had a series of matches with Britt Baker. I was always surprised that she just kind of went back to Dark and never, reemerged on AEW. Her return at All Out during the Casino Battle Royale was good. It was nice, but it was very much obviously to continue the feud with Diamante.
Yeah. So from what I'm reading here, the 3 strikes are that the first fall has to be, or the first strike has to be pinfall. The second one has to be submission, and the third has to be a knockout.
Oh wow!
I mean, to be honest, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I don't really get it. But yeah. So jumping back a little bit, I do want to say or mention that Joey Janela actually did. He won that match via pinfall, and as far as the 3 strikes match, Big Swole won that one overall. Diamante got the pinfall in the first one, and then Big Swole got the submission, and then also got the knockout. But it was a good match. I enjoy both of these female wrestlers quite a bit. I was a little surprised, honestly, that the Big Swole won. I was really expecting Diamante to take that one, but wasn't in the cards, I guess. But yeah, there were some other matches. There was Lance Archer had a match that was really short. There was a Dark Order match, and there was there weren't a whole lot of standout matches. These were the 2 that were the most interesting to me. Let's just put it that way. Let's see, what else do we've got? Well, go ahead.
We should stick with AEW, and I guess they're kind of out of order in our notes here.
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, Dynamite
would have been next.
On Wednesday was on Wednesday. That was a really good one.
Excellent show. The follow-up to All Out. We had appearances by CM Punk, Daniel Bryan, Adam Cole, Ruby Soho. Like, everybody showed up. Yeah, we had
some good stuff on there. MJF did a really good promo where he was basically disparaging Cincinnati and talking trash on Brian Pillman Jr. and his family, and that turned into a big brawl, and kind of led to a match on Friday. There was the promo where the Elite comes out, and Adam Cole kind of goes off on Tony Schiavone. And that was entertaining. He kept calling him a nerd, forced him out of the ring, and talking to him about stay away from my woman kind of thing. And that was
yeah, he did a really good job of. He's a heel, but he's also a heel that everyone's excited to see.
Yeah.
So he did a good job of like, well, I know who's a good target is Tony, because everybody loves Tony, and everybody gets mad if you go after Tony. So like that's a perfect target for Adam Cole.
See, I'm wondering if there's going to be any reaction from Britt Baker on that.
She might mention something in passing. I could see that during one of their backstage interviews.
Yeah.
But I also could see them, it being a very long time before we see the two of them on screen together at the same time too. Yeah. They're both doing so well on their own. They don't need each other to boost each other on the show.
But that was a good promo. Adam Cole did his job. And then of course he was interrupted by Bryan Danielson, and he kind of got up in Kenny's face. And brawl ensued with the Elite and Brian, and then Jurassic Express came in, and Christian Cage came in, and Frankie Kazarian came in, and that led us to what is going to be Adam Cole's first match, which will be on this week's Dynamite, and that is Adam Cole versus Frankie Kazarian. I did not expect that was going to end up being his first match.
Yeah, it's funny because it is the one where you're like, Frankie has the least to do with all of this.
Yeah. Even though he's the elite hunter, they don't really push that angle very much.
Right.
But,
I think it'll be a good match. I think it's a good first match back too, because Adam Cole versus Jungle Boy, that's like a main event type show. Like,
yeah, I agree.
So save that one for later.
Yeah, definitely. Another match that stood out to me, well, that wasn't really a match, so that didn't really. But one of the matches that stood out to me was the Malachi Black and Dustin Rhodes match. I thought that was a great match. It was really good physical match. Got a little bloody.
Yeah.
Of course, Black took Rhodes out with his black mass after he threw him into that exposed ring post. After he hit that exposed ring post, he was pretty much done for him anyway. But it was a good match, and I think it did a good job furthering that storyline that they've got going on with the Nightmare family and Black.
Yeah, it also set up Cody versus Malachi Black at the New York show coming up.
Yeah,
which I think will be a fantastic match.
Absolutely.
I kind of hope Malachi Black wins that one too. I don't know what'll happen with that. I think it's best to keep him strong right now. Cody can take a loss. Cody's Cody.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if he wins.
Yeah. I hope so. I think it'd be more interesting.
Yeah. Let's see what any other matches stand out for you on Dynamite.
Yeah, for sure. My favorite match of the night was also kind of a disappointment as well.
It was your favorite, but it was a disappointment. Okay.
It was. It's funny. So Minoru Suzuki versus Jon Moxley was the main event. What happened here is very clearly they ran out of time. The match itself was only 8 minutes long, and a good portion of that match was done in picture-in-picture. They also cut Minoru Suzuki's song before they got to the Kaze Ninare, which upset quite a few people online. You don't play his song and not get to that part. Hopefully they learn their lesson, and next week we'll get to hear the whole song. But even though the match was short and pushed for time and squished down into the little corner of the picture-in-picture,
and I didn't even get to see it because I watch it on the app, and it says, they say we're going to go picture to picture. All I get is commercials.
Yeah, it's funny because
to see half the match.
I watch AEW through some not so legal means. So the version of the match that I watch was also the picture-in-picture broadcast version. Typically, the site I watch it on tends to have the UK Fight app version, which when they say they're going to picture-in-picture, the UK gets the whole match. They don't cut down. You hear commentary, you hear the audio. And so the stream I get, I find usually has that version, but they went with the picture-in-picture version.
So how it works is on the app, if I'm watching it live, which you can, I will get picture-in-picture.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm watching the playback, I don't.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I started watching Dynamite live. And then I had something I had to go do, so I had to pause it. And when I came back, it was like, well, guess I don't get to watch it. I guess I'll be watching it tomorrow. So that's disappointing.
You can watch it on New Japan World, I'm assuming, because they allowed AEW to use one of their wrestlers, that they also said, well, here, you can have the footage, and it's the full screen version without the picture-in-picture. So if you wanted to see that match, you can go there.
There's a couple other options I'm looking at as far as possibly being able to watch it another way. There's a thing out there, I don't know a whole lot about it. It's called Sling.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can watch live TV, but they also have like a DVR function. So maybe I'll get the actual programming.
Yeah.
And I think they have a free trial, so I may check that out, but see if it's better than watching it on the app.
I will say about the match, though, even though it was so short, it was so good. He stiff elbows to the face. Just it. If you've seen the Suzuki match, you know how hard hitting they can be.
Yeah. And
this was no exception. He even got some color. He had a pretty bad spot over his eye that got busted open, and I saw the picture of the stitches afterwards. So he's obviously going on his U.S. tour this year. So he's probably a little protective of that eye. But
well, Dynamite. We also got the in-ring debut. Well, I guess it's in-ring singles debut of Ruby Soho.
Yeah, absolutely.
And she defeated Jamie Hayter. So it was a good match. I liked that match as well.
It was really good. Honestly, though, the whole show was good.
It really was, yeah.
They fit so much into it. CM Punk and Team Taz looks like that's the next feud for him.
Yep.
Dante Martin had a good match with Will Hobbs.
He did. That was a good match. Dante is definitely going to be somebody to look at.
Yeah,
because even though he got beat, he didn't look weak at all.
No,
I mean,
no, his moveset is really strong.
It really is.
I'm surprised his brother isn't on AEW more often, though I think he has an MLW contract. So
maybe, but yeah, Dante is definitely going to be somebody to watch.
Mm-hmm.
And that brings us to Friday night, which I actually didn't watch until Saturday, but AEW Rampage, which consisted of 3 matches.
Mm-hmm.
We probably are both in agreement, but I think the match of the night was definitely Andrade versus Pac.
Yeah, this was the match that was cut from All Out due to travel issues.
Yeah.
Man,
that was an amazing match.
Yes, I was so happy with this. Well, I was happy with the match itself. I wasn't crazy about the finish. We went with a distraction finish, or with Chavo hitting Pac over the head with an iPad. And
yeah.
I mean, he's a heel, so he's doing what heels do. But I also just wanted to see a good, clean match
Up to that point, it was pretty. Pretty clean, and it was brutal, and it really had some. I mean, had the back and forth going. Both of these guys were working their butts off and really doing. It was just an amazing match. It was. It was. I liked the. I liked the ending in as much as. He did that thing to Pac, and then they told Andrade, and Andrade went off on him and knocked him out. And
I've seen some rumors that this means that Ric Flair is going to come in and be Andrade's manager. I don't know if that's true or not.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't really need that, honestly.
I don't think AEW needs them. But yeah, the Lucha Brothers got involved, and it was it was a good match. It was a lot of fun to watch, and it's kind of changing my opinion overall of Andrade, because I'm actually not a big Andrade fan, to be honest. And even after the match, I'd still have to say. The character I'm still not a fan of, but his work is what's moving me the other way. There was some really good work in that match.
When he wrestled as La Sombra in CMLL and New Japan, he was really good. I liked his run in NXT quite a bit, especially once they paired him up with Zelina Vega. Like, they were perfect together.
Yeah.
His run as the NXT champion was pretty good. And he even had a good start on the main roster. He was featured pretty prominently in some matches. But overall, WWE does what WWE does and just kind of let him slip down the card.
Didn't know what to do with him.
Mm-hmm.
But AEW seems to be doing a good job. Not surprisingly.
Yeah, there was a lot of criticism about his debut, and people were thinking that, like, oh, this is one of the few, this is a disappointment, but it's getting better, and I think AEW definitely, even when something isn't working right away, they will find a way to make it work.
Yeah. But he definitely put on a good match, as did Pac did as well. So the other match tonight was the six female tag team match with it was Ruby and Chris Statlander and Riho against Britt Baker, Jamie Hayter, and Rebel. Mm-hmm. It was decent.
Yeah,
it was good.
It was solid. I mean, it was a little kind of like a time filler match, but
yeah,
it wasn't bad. I like Britt's entourage. I like when all three of them are involved in matches. Rebel's hilarious. I love what she does, and it's just more Ruby time on screen too. Never gonna complain about that.
Then of course Soho came in and took out Rebel for the win. And then the other match was a little kind of an oddball match. It was Brian Pillman Jr. versus Max Caster. It didn't really make sense to me. It was a decent match, but it just, story-wise, it didn't really make any sense.
No, because the promo between MJF and Brian Pillman Jr. was a great segment that got Brian over really strong with the home crowd. They very clearly want to do the MJF match in New York. But they were also still in his hometown, so they wanted to give people a chance to watch Brian Pillman have a match. So I guess Max Caster was their choice, but there wasn't much of an in-story
reason. They didn't really set that match up much. And I mean, It was a decent match. It wasn't phenomenal, but it just, I mean, really the biggest problem with it was it just didn't make any sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I guess they just wanted to feature Max Caster again after his little time in the penalty box.
Yeah.
And then plus we get a good Jon Moxley appearance at the very end of the show too. So
that was a good one.
Send Cincinnati home happy.
Helping out the hometown boy. That was good. All right. Well, that was AEW for the week. What else did we have going on? There wasn't much else that I watched. I did watch an episode of New Japan Strong.
Oh yeah.
I don't think that's something I'm going to watch regularly. It was the first time I watched it, and I didn't really get much out of it. It just didn't have like a New Japan feel to it, which I guess it's not supposed to, but it was like I didn't really get much out of it. The only match that I can remember, which shows you how much the show itself was memorable, and I don't even remember who he wrestled. But TJP had a match. Gosh, for the life of me, I cannot remember who it was. Let me Google that real quick.
While you're looking that up, New Japan Strong is, I think it grew out of necessity originally. I think it started right at the beginning of the pandemic. And they wanted to utilize those wrestlers they had in the LA dojo since they weren't really able to travel over to Japan to wrestle. So I guess it was a way to fill programming. And there were some tournaments early on in it that got a little bit of attention, but it's not a show that's super high on people's like list of required watching each week. But it's a unique show in the New Japan sphere.
Yeah, I can't even find the results from the match. I'm pretty sure that it was the most recent show. Maybe not.
I think there's been a newer one since then.
Okay, hang on. I just found. Okay, it wasn't that one. Definitely wasn't that one. See, these are a bunch of tag team matches, so it definitely was not that because there weren't a whole heck of a lot of tag team matches on the show that I watched.
It was the September 3rd episode, I believe.
I think you're right. Okay, it was the Barbecue Brawl. That's what it was. Okay, because there was a match between Josh Alexander and Daniel Garcia on that one.
Right.
Looking at the results now, I do remember that match, but it wasn't anything exciting. So it was TJP versus Ray Horace.
Oh, interesting. I like Ray Horace.
It was a decent match. Yeah, now that I'm looking at the results, I do remember all of these matches. There was Matt Morris, who, at first I didn't know who he was, and then when I saw his face, immediately recognized him as, he was with WWE, and he was Rusev's kind of not really valet. Geez, I can't remember his name.
Oh, Aiden English.
Right, Aiden English. That's right.
Yeah, that's right.
But see, I was not a fan of him at all in WWE. Even when he had that tag team. The
Vaudevillains?
Yeah, I was just not into it. And, this match with Matt Morris, as Matt Morris, he wrestled I'm going to butcher this name. Hikuleo.
Oh, Hikuleo. That is Tama Tonga and Tongaloa's brother.
Yeah. It was a decent match. But he's still kind of got that opera thing going, I think.
Yeah.
I'm just not into it. But yeah, as far as New Japan, that was the only thing I watched this week besides AEW.
So I said last week on the show that I was going to try and watch some of the Wrestle Grand Slam matches from the previous weekend. Same weekend as All Out, actually. And I wasn't able to watch both shows from beginning to end. I got to watch 3 matches. I would have liked to watch the Stardom feature matches that were on those shows, but unfortunately didn't get to them. But this was kind of my way of being like, all right, I need to start focusing on New Japan before the G1 starts next week. Yeah. So I watched 3 matches. The first one I watched was Sho versus Yo. They were formerly known as Roppongi 3K. They worked with Rocky Romero. Super talented young wrestlers. They were light heavyweights in the tag team division. I believe Yo got injured and Sho wound up kind of taking off on his own during some tournaments that New Japan was doing at the very beginning of the pandemic. Mm-hmm. And he had a great showing. It was very obvious that this guy was going to be like, he's the next like new light heavyweight star to come out of that division. Yo came back from injury. They teamed up again. They did, at least a good year's worth of matches or so. And then Sho turned on Yo. Sho turned heel. And they had their match here at the Wrestle Grand Slam, which took place in the MetLife Stadium, which is like a baseball stadium in Japan. Yeah. They've done a few baseball stadium shows. They're fun, but they don't sound great for the audience. And New Japan also has some issues with they're not allowed, like audience is not allowed to shout or cheer due to like COVID restrictions. So it's just clapping. So it's kind of like it's already it's like a colder audience reaction. And they're in a baseball stadium, which the sound just basically goes up in a baseball stadium. So like you don't even hear the applause as well as you would inside. So that's kind of one of the issues. The match is really good. Sho is definitely going heel. He joined the Bullet Club alongside Evil.
Oh.
And it's interesting because I would have expected Yo to be the one to go heel because Sho was just such a natural babyface in his singles run he had. Yeah. But I guess they need some more heels. New Japan, I don't know. Bullet Club is kind of running rampant right now with the interference. And it makes it a little tough to watch sometimes, but I'm happy to see them get their own little singles push. I'm hoping Yo doesn't get left behind. But and then I watched 2 more matches from the 2 nights. I watched Hiroshi Tanahashi versus Kota Ibushi for the IWGP United States Championship. This was the belt that Lance Archer beat Jon Moxley for, and then turned right around and lost to Hiroshi Tanahashi. So Tanahashi is the 1 in 100 years. He's a legend in New Japan. He is an incredible top draw for that company, even after his years of working for them. Kota Ibushi as well is the like other top white meat babyface in New Japan currently. It's just a really, really good match for these two. They're just two. It's a babyface versus babyface match. So it's kind of like, well, I don't know who I want to win this. I was hoping Tanahashi retained his title, so that was who I was rooting for because Jon Moxley very badly wants to wrestle Tanahashi for his championship back, and I want to see that match.
Yeah.
It was a good match. It wasn't as long as the main event tends to run on those shows. I was surprised. I think the match itself was like 16 minutes long. And usually those main event matches go 20 to 30 easy. And the final match that I watched from those shows is probably my favorite match of the entire week. And was Hiromu Takahashi versus Robbie Eagles for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship.
Okay.
I was unaware that Robbie Eagles had actually won that championship recently. I think he defeated Taiji Ishimori for that title. So Hiromu was the challenger. Robbie Eagles wound up retaining his championship. So Hiromu did not win. This is just a fast-paced, hard-hitting match. And Hiromu Takahashi is one of the stars of, like, the true organic, natural stars of New Japan, and one of their top junior heavyweights for sure. Great match. It's probably my favorite match of the entire week that I watched. Outside of All Out, I guess.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a good show. I would like to watch the rest of the matches, but time is limited, and the G1's coming up. So
yeah. Wow.
And I wrote this down here in our notes too. Ring of Honor's Death Before Dishonor is actually happening right now as we're recording this. So we don't really know the results yet, but if I hear of any good matches from that show, I'll probably talk about them next week on the show.
I'll probably try to watch a couple of matches from that as well. Cool. All right. So we, of course, have another week of AEW. We've got Dark Elevation, and Dynamite, and Rampage that we'll have to talk about, as well as any other matches we happen to catch throughout the week. But now it is time for our new segment. Well, kind of new segment. New for us, anyway. And that is our top 5 list. And today we're doing top 5 active male wrestlers. And, of course, this can be the idea is that it can be from whatever promotion you want it to be from. In this case, it kind of got very narrow promotion-wise on my end. So I'm thinking start with 5 and work our way up.
That works for me.
Okay. All right. Well, who is your number 5?
I was really torn on who I was going to make my number 5. I had quite a few options actually written down, but the one I think I'm going to go with was one of my gut instinct choices, and I'm going to say Sami Zayn, number 5 favorite wrestlers. He is one of the reasons why I got back into watching wrestling. I had dipped my toe in by watching the weekly Ring of Honor television series, and then had heard good things about what was going on with the WWE, and especially Sami Zayn on the main roster. So that's when I dove back into the wrestling full time, essentially. At that time, he was a babyface. He was definitely the underdog from the underground. He was the Bryan Danielson archetype for the WWE.
Now, did you watch him when he was El Generico?
So I wasn't watching whenever he was doing that at the time. I have since gone back and watched quite a few of his matches, and you don't see it as much in his WWE work, but his work rate is incredible too. Yeah. He's a phenomenal wrestler.
Yeah, I thought he was great in NXT. Mm-hmm. But once he got called up, he kind of wasn't really interesting.
He
got some bad angles.
Yeah, bad angles. He got injured right after going up, I think.
Yeah, he did.
Like not long. And then he kept getting hurt. I think he had some shoulder issues as well. He was in one really good feud. That was basically a recreation of previous feuds that I'll talk about in another selection coming up.
Yeah.
But his turn as a heel has been like a new layer to Sami Zayn. He's an excellent heel. He's the perfect, annoying, kind of cowardly heel.
I haven't seen any of that run. That's Probably, that probably happened after I stopped watching WWE.
Yeah, he's. Here's an interesting news piece. Apparently, Sami Zayn's contract is up soon as well. So
I did read something about that. Yeah.
Yeah, this year supposedly it's going to be up. So
Wow.
I'm very curious what he's going to do.
Yeah.
He's got a pretty prominent role currently in the WWE. But I guess too it depends on circumstances and what they offer him and what the competition might offer him.
Yeah.
But he's my number 5 pick.
Very good. My number 5 also comes from WWE. So I really haven't seen a lot of what he's done lately, but I like what he's done when I was watching. But I actually started watching him with a different promotion many, many years ago. And my number 5 is AJ Styles. I started watching him back in TNA. And he did some really good work there. And then he went to New Japan and did some awesome work there. And then showed up on WWE and had some really great runs there.
His debut at that Royal Rumble was perfect.
Yeah. And his in-ring work is just amazing. I mean, kind of hard to beat, but there's 4 that I like better. But he's definitely in my top 5. So there's nothing to do with that.
Yeah, he's probably in my top 10 for sure.
Yeah. And he has no intentions of going anywhere. In fact, I think when his contract expires, he's going to retire.
Yeah, I mean, I hold out hope that he'll do like a retirement tour where he'll like do all the runs, hit some of the spots, but
go back to New Japan,
do a little brief stint there, do a little Impact run, do a brief AEW run, something. Yeah, we'll see. Number 4. Yeah. So my number 4 is Dragon Lee. He's my lone Lucha Libre selection. I wanted to represent a Lucha Libre choice. It's my favorite form of wrestling on the planet. It's more of a style approach to that. I love the pageantry. I love the masks. I love the very strict rules of Lucha Libre. The heels are heels and the baby faces are the technical ones.
Yeah.
Dragon Lee is probably one of the fastest luchadors. I'd say probably arguably right there with Rey Fenix as far as like pure speed in the ring. Yeah. Whereas Rey has a little bit more unique of offense and more creative concepts. Dragon Lee has a harder hitting style. He's the brother of Roosh. Currently he's in Ring of Honor as well. I think he's their television champion. Yeah. I need to see more of his Ring of Honor work. I watched pretty closely his CMLL and New Japan stuff, but I need to catch up on his Ring of Honor work. But he's my favorite luchador wrestling today.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I like Rey Mysterio.
Yeah, that man. He for as long as he's been wrestling, he's still so good in the ring.
Yeah. And he actually probably would have been my number 6.
Nice.
I mean, it kind of came down between him and AJ Styles, and I ended up going with AJ Styles. My number 4 is Adam Cole.
Baby.
Yeah. Some really good work. And he just, inside the ring, great worker, awesome talent. But almost as entertaining is his out of ring work or his promo work, his mic work is just, he's just so awesome. Another one that started out, well, I say started out, but kind of got his big start in Ring of Honor. And then, went to New Japan and then, Yeah, then showed up on NXT, and that debut was pretty amazing. But hands down, his best debut was just the one that happened at All Out.
Yeah.
That was so amazing.
I can't get over how good that debut was. I think I liked it better than Bryan and Punk's debut. There's something about it.
Definitely liked it better than Bryan Danielson's debut.
Yeah.
But I'm not so sure about CM Punk. And that'll make more sense as we get further down the list.
Yeah.
But yeah, Adam Cole, number 4.
He was one of the ones that I got when I started dipping my toe into Ring of Honor. He was one of the ones that stood out to me at that time. I was like, oh, this guy's really cool.
Yeah.
So I'm extremely happy that he is in AEW now.
I'm glad he brought that back.
Yeah. I think he did it once or twice in NXT, but it wasn't a recurring thing like it was in Ring of Honor. So
it's fun. It's gonna be so fun to watch him in AEW.
My number 3 choice is Hiromu Takahashi. I talked about him in his match at the Grand Slam. I first saw him in Ring of Honor as well. He was on excursion from New Japan. He was actually on excursion to CMLL, but CMLL and Ring of Honor had a working relationship very similar to the New Japan relationship, so he got to wrestle on a few shows there. And I wasn't really hooked on him then. I was like, who's this guy with the fuzzy boots? He's just kind of goofy. When he debuted as a member of Los Ingobernables in New Japan, I was like, this guy? What's his deal? And then over time, he just like turned into my favorite junior heavyweight. Like I talked about him, his match. He's one of the fastest wrestlers too in the world. He hits so hard. His feud with Dragon Lee is part of why I love him as well. When he broke his neck, I was so worried that they're like, oh, this is it. He's probably never going to come back. And then he came back at Wrestle King. Well, he came back actually and fought Will Ospreay first. And it was just a beautiful comeback. His story is so inspiring. He recently was injured again. This was more of an arm injury, I believe, like a shoulder injury. Mm-hmm. And then he just recovered from that and came back to. He organically became the most over star, one of the most over true stars in New Japan, especially over the pandemic. And I just love him. He's one of the best in the world.
Awesome. My number 3 is Bryan Danielson.
Yeah.
Strangely enough, I didn't know anything about him until he came to WWE. But I, really enjoyed him. Most of his runs in WWE. Some of them were a little off-putting, but his in-ring work is just super. It's just outstanding. He's an amazing worker, and I just really liked him and his charisma, and just him as a person, and just made me. Put him in number 5. I actually recently read his autobiography. And, well, I say read. I listened to the audiobook version, which he narrates. He actually reads it. So it's really good story. If you haven't read that one, I think it's just called Yes. Mm. There's a subtitle. I don't remember what it is, but really good book. And he goes through his entire, from high school up through whenever the book was published. And by that time, he was already, big in WWE. And that was actually the debut I was most looking forward to from All Out. I was looking forward to one of the matches, which was really the thing that got me there. But I was really looking forward to seeing Bryan Danielson, who had, one of the best debuts at All Out. But he's fun to watch. It's fun to listen to talk. And that's why he's my number 3.
Yeah. So my number 2 is Kevin Owens. Not that big of a surprise, I guess.
No,
He is the other wrestler that got me back into the WWE. Him and Sami Zayn were the two that were talked about the most to me, and I was like, well, I guess I'm gonna go watch these guys. And my original intent was just to watch their matches, and then it turned into watching like the whole show. That was actually a really interesting point in the WWE where it was like really good for a minute again. Like 2016, 2017 was like really good. His feud with Sami Zayn on the main roster was basically a reheat of their NXT feud, which was also a reheat of their Ring of Honor feud.
Yeah.
The Ring of Honor feud was probably the most satisfying out of all of them. But their match at Battleground that year, I think, is the one that stands out to me for their main roster feud. Kevin Owens being the Universal Champion was my favorite thing going on at that point, especially after taking it after Finn Balor was injured. And then him losing to Goldberg in like a 30-second nothing match was kind of like the beginning of the end of my appreciation for the WWE's main roster stuff.
The one thing that, other than the feud, the NXT, I only knew about him from NXT. Until he hit the main roster, obviously. But his feud with Sammy was good. Other than that feud, the most memorable thing for me about Kevin Owens was the angle where he was best friends with Chris Jericho.
Yes.
That was a lot of fun.
That was an amazing run, too. It didn't get the payoff that it should have had.
Yeah.
It should have been for the Universal Championship. Wound up being for the U.S. Championship in like an 8-minute match at WrestleMania, but another disappointing thing. But he can talk and he can work, and his contract may be up, and he's been teasing.
I've been
Mount Rushmore revival there, so
been hearing some rumors. Yeah, we'll see what happens there. Okay, my number 2. I want to say if we had done this list a month ago, he would be my number 1. But my number 2 is Kenny Omega. And I can't remember where or when I started watching them. It was probably some New Japan matches. But I mean, he's just amazing. His matches are always amazing. Those matches in New Japan, some of those are some of the best matches ever. Mm-hmm. And he actually, we didn't talk about this in the news, but Pro Wrestling Illustrated does a top 500, I guess, every year. Mm-hmm. And he ranked number 1 this year, which is the second time he has ranked number 1 in that poll. Yeah. So it's not just me that really likes him, apparently. Not surprisingly.
Well deserved.
I like him. He's the cleaner.
Yeah. I haven't enjoyed his AEW work as much as I enjoyed his New Japan work, but he still manages to put on usually one of the best matches on the card. So,
yeah. I think his run in AEW has been pretty entertaining, and this new turn as a heel, still just kind of, he's got it. He can do this.
His championship run has been a vast improvement over his prior run in the AEW.
I would say, better than his tag team championship run.
Thing is, he's such a great heel that it's like I feel like that happens a lot. People become baby faces because they're really good at being heels, and then their babyface work isn't as fun as their heel work. So I'm happy he's a heel again.
Yeah, he's pretty great. He's awesome.
All right.
Oh, that comes to your number one.
My number one pick is Tetsuya Naito. He is the leader of Los Ingobernables de Japón. And when I was getting into New Japan, the thing that attracted me the most was just the pure work rate and the storytelling that went inside those rings. And then I saw Naito, and I was just like, who is this guy? What is his deal? He comes to the ring wearing a full suit and takes forever taking each piece of clothing off. He was the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. At that point, he wound up losing it to Okada in a pretty good series of, I want to say it was probably a Dominion match, maybe. But Naito's also kind of an underdog for being like one of the top 4 guys in that company. Anytime he wins the heavyweight championship, he also winds up losing it almost as quickly. His run as the Intercontinental Champion, where he did not care about the Intercontinental Championship and literally just threw it around, the way it looked by the end of that run, where like the white strap was just filthy, the chunks of the gold belt were like knocked out, some of the gems were missing in it. He disrespected that title so much, and I just loved how he treated that thing. And then his quest for the double gold at Wrestle Kingdom was triumphant, becoming the first Intercontinental and World Heavyweight Champion in New Japan history. It was beautiful and too short-lived, unfortunately. But I love Naito. He's my favorite. I don't speak Japanese at all, but his character comes through in every motion and movement in the ring. He is my absolute favorite wrestler in the world. Okay. I honestly can't remember any matches I've seen with him, but I know the name. He just this year lost the championship to Ibushi. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so my number one at this point probably is not going to be any big surprise at all, at least not to you. And that is CM Punk. I don't remember when I started watching him, but he became my favorite in WWE. His promo work, at least to me, is unbeatable. His monologues, his mic skills are just flipping phenomenal. His matches, he's not super, he's not a high flyer. He's not super fast paced in his wrestling, but he's got some good technical skills, and he's I think we mentioned this last week when we were talking about his match at All Out, but good classic wrestling style. And there's a lot to be said for being able to pull that kind of stuff off with a lot of the modern wrestlers. And but yeah, he's been my favorite. And then, he left, and that was kind of the beginning of the end of my, it kind of at the point where I stopped watching wrestling like super regularly. It just kind of just felt like there was nothing more to watch almost. So then of course you got, a few weeks ago, shows up on Rampage, and I should have been there, but he pretty much is the reason that I went to All Out, why I wanted to go so bad, because I wanted to see his in-ring return. And it was a great match. It wasn't really technical wise, it wasn't really match of the night, but it was definitely entertaining to see that he still can do what he does after being gone for 7 years. And he is my number one favorite active male wrestler.
Yeah,
well, that's
he wouldn't have made that list a month ago.
No, that's what I'm saying. If we did this a month ago, Kenny would have been on top. So that was our top 5. Next week we'll be doing top 5 active female wrestlers, which should be a very interesting list because there are definitely a lot more promotions to pull from.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting putting that list together. But that's it for us today. Do you have any closing thoughts that you wanted to mention?
No, I just love wrestling.
Yeah. So we'll be back next week to talk more wrestling. And thanks for tuning in. And you have a great week.
Goodbye.